Thank you. And very flattered.
My goodness. Do you have awards?
No.
You do have award. They said award winning. That was the profile
Of
given to
course,
me.
I have awards.
Exactly. So
Thank you.
I'm not lying. And I chose Adelakun because that's the one that's easier for me to pronounce.
That's okay.
Okay. And the man that is in between the middle of the center with the research, oh my goodness, the name just skipped, but he's the scientist who brought all of these revelations our way. So please remind me.
Okay, here is Dr. Lebari Sibe.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Lebari, thank you for joining us. Okay, so I've read a couple of things, and thanks to my understanding of the English language, I kind of get the picture, but I'm certain I don't exactly capture it because for me, it's academic. You guys were on the ground, you had boots on the ground, you were in the field. Give me a picture of how devastating. Imagine you're explaining this to a child. How bad is it?
Okay, I'd like to reframe, how you've introduced this topic, because I feel that because of how over-reported the issue is, people have become desensitized to the fact that, it might be devastating. How about we reframe it as a call to action rather than a devastation?
Okay.
And what we really did was that we were studying water.
Okay.
We were studying water distribution across Ogoni. And then we came across fishing communities that were setting traps, catching fish covered in crude, and they were just rinsing the fish and eating it.
My goodness.
We came across women who were picking periwinkles, at the creeks and just rinsing it and taking it to the market to sell. And some of these areas are areas that HYPREP has not even begun to remediate. Yes, the shoreline remediation is ongoing in Bodo, but it's a long process and it's in phases.
Yeah.
So there are some places they've not gotten to, which is why those study areas were selected, because there's some that are ongoing, there's some that have not been touched. So the local communities, do they know this? And if they know this, how come they're just rinsing crude off seafood and eating? There is a gap there. And I'm framing and setting the tone of this conversation this way because I believe that our conversations in Nigeria when it comes to projects like this is what's happening at the beginning, what's happening at the end. The process in between, which is the how, is often neglected. And that's why we took this unique point to tell the Ogoni story that, yes, we know there's a lot of money going out. HYPREP is, doing a lot of remediation. Yes, there are a lot of places that they are yet to, get to. But while that is going on, there are still some ongoing, issues that should be attended to. So that's the major reason why we did this project.
Okay, so that's a clearer picture. But while I'm not making excuses for the people, I kind of understand why they're just living their lives. First of all, that's the life they've always known.
Exactly.
Right? While the pollution definitely is disruptive, it still is the life they know.
Absolutely.
So, them understanding how severe this is and how they might need to make changes may not exactly dawn on them because,
you are right.
It's our way of life.
Yes.
So I'm just thinking about it. If something had to come and disrupt my routine, all the things that I normally do, how I come to work, how I eat, I said, "Oh, Sam, don't you see how dangerous this is?" And I'm telling you, this is all I know. Mm-hmm. It's all I've had. Okay, so Dr. Lebari, let's look at your perspective. You conducted the investigation.
That's correct.
Walk me through I almost asked the methodology. I just realized that I might not be interested in because science dealt with me in school. Were the revelations from your investigation shocking to you? Is that like a regular thing for you? How did the findings hit you?
Well, the findings for me as a scientist wasn't shocking.
Okay.
It's expected in science. When we embark on the research, we expect to see either the positives or the negatives.
Okay.
So it was an expectation. So we make hypotheses. This could happen. This could not happen. So until we subject it to a test, so we confirm scientifically that this is what it is. So to me, it wasn't a surprise. It was a discovery.
And usually when you make these kinds of discoveries, course of action, what is supposed to happen?
All right. She has elaborated and made it plain that this should be a call to action. Of course, as a scientist, my work is to carry out the research, to make the data available for action by policy makers to drive it. Of course, we have done that. The data is there, speaking for itself, and what is left, she's on our side, making the information, making the data known, bringing it to the world.
Yeah.
And of course, we are here driving, calling for this action. So policy makers, the governments, the communities themselves could also be aware of the situation and then take preventive measures to even help in their lives while they await government intervention.
I want to put the both of you on the spot, so brace yourselves. Do you think high prep has failed?
That is a leading question.
It is.
And it is a question that assumes something that is absolute. So I will help you reframe it. Yes.
Okay, reframe the question.
Well, let me just answer, the question. I don't think this is a question of an agency failing.
Okay.
I think it's a question of an agency that, is doing or says it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And then other non-state actors, also playing their parts, like the media. So what we have done is supposed to inform what they're doing. And, it's questions like this that pit us journalists against high prep.
Yes, sir.
High prep does not like seeing people like me because they think, oh, you're coming to critique. But that's not the point. The point is, okay, you're doing this, clap, clap, clap. But here's what we're also saying. And why is this important? Like I said, everybody is focused on the cleanup. They're not concerned about the devastation that is waiting at the end of the cleanup. Because when the cleanup is done, the remediation occurs. UNEP says it takes about 30 years if we are doing what we're supposed to be doing for everything to be restored. At the end of 30 years, what kind of locals are we going to have? There are children who will be adults then. Children who are eating this fish, who will be adults then? Would they be adults who have cancer? The people who are adults now, would they be aged, or would they even have the opportunity to get to old ripe age, to say they lived? So this is the point, of this whole thing. So I don't think it's a matter of, an agency failed. And this is why we're having the dialogue that we're having, tomorrow. We're organizing a multi-stakeholder dialogue tomorrow at the government secondary school in Gokana. Dialogue is important. I love this quote that says that when dialogue breaks down, then violence is inevitable. And what's the point of the dialogue? It's not just awareness. Awareness is key, yes, but you're making them aware of something. What's the alternative? If we're telling Baba Nombare Tabu, who I interviewed, a fisherman in Nwemu village off Bodo Creek, who told me, I just rinse off the crude and I eat the fish. So if we're telling him, Baba, don't eat this fish anymore, what is the alternative for him?
Yeah.
What's the alternative for his family? That's what he feeds himself on. That's what he sells to make a living. So not only is he a danger to the people catching and consuming it, he's a danger to unsuspecting people who are going to the markets to buy some of this fish.
Indeed. I like how you answer the question for two reasons. One, you still need access to the information that you have to get. And two, you need us to see how we are all involved.
Exactly.
But you see, my job is to put you on the spot.
That's fine.
Now, the UNEP report, 30-year time frame, and we are over a decade down. And I'm glad that you phrased it the way you do. 30 years if we do what we are supposed to.
Yeah.
Which obviously means that we did not exactly do it. Now, the reason why I phrase it like that, and I need it to be as extreme and absolute as possible, is because there are specific targets that we can look to and say, this is success, this is failure, this is a step in a certain direction, right? So like when you're traveling to Lagos, there are landmarks. So when you get here, we are close enough. And while it is important that we give credit where it's due, we also need to understand how far away from this destination we are, whatever that might be, and how further away we are drifting from it because of how we have not started on time, or we are slower than we are supposed to. And of course, the dialogue is important. It's great to give credit where it's due. I'm glad you're a journalist as well. And we do reporting here on the station as to a project here that it did not deliver. I'm trying not to use the word fail on what it was supposed to. So, I get your positioning. I totally understand. But you just have to see it for what it is.
Okay.
Yes, Doc, please.
Thank you. I think as a scientist, I am under obligation to justify this argument.
Yes, indeed.
That's always been there. Is HyperRep doing what they are supposed to do? Have they failed? Are they doing their best? Of course, if you are given a task, as much as you are trying, no matter the criticism, you will want to prove to the people that, yeah, I am doing it well.
Yeah.
Of course, these are my results that I've gotten. And of course, we are not going to deny HyperRep has made significant efforts towards the cleanup in Ogoniland. But just as we know, and it's the fact, it is an ongoing project.
Yeah, it is.
Right. As part of the mandate that we are given a mandate to embark on continuous assessment of the unassessed creeks, degraded lands,
Yeah.
all of that. Of course, HyperRep has also put up plans to carry out the continuous assessment of the unassessed degraded lands. So, of course, they may not have captured everywhere in Ogoni. So there are still some polluted areas that has not been captured, not to talk of cleanup.
Yes.
Okay, so I believe our study area falls into one of those spots where the assessment has not been done, the remediation efforts has not been done. So our findings is helping HyperRep to say, oh, this place your activities hasn't gotten to. This is what we have found.
Yeah.
Okay, and this means Ogoni land, the scope of your work is still unachievable.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are not saying they are inefficient in where they have done or what they have done.
Yeah.
But we are stepping in, okay, contributing our quota to solving the problem that's in place.
To possibly help expedite. Well, you've spoken well. The truth is, even if HyperRep were working to the best of their abilities, the work will still be ongoing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even if they worked at the best possible speed.
Even they have admitted that there are some, of the projects that the contractors who handled it didn't do a good job, because apart from water and the aquatic life that we monitored, we also checked up on some land remediation sites where they were remediating soil and groundwater. And there was a particular lot that we came across. I think that's Anuoluwapo 2. It was a cluster site, and we saw that on their websites. They said it had been decommissioned, the contractor had finished, but that contractor, one of the contractors, had not followed the right protocol. So what you have there is just a wide gully and tarpaulins all over the place, and it's a farming community. So the farmers there are wondering, this thing that they said they've done, will we ever be able to go back to farm there? So yeah, definitely they're having those inner conversations.
All right, so I have to take a break now. When we return, we'll talk solutions and the dialogue coming up, so that we don't just highlight problems, we also tell you how to solve them. Stay with us. Coach Chinedu here. I still have Dr. Lay Barry and Chief Mrs. Adelakun in the studio. We've just been informed that we need to update the profile. All right, welcome once again. So we have a picture, and I'm very careful, as I always say, because we don't have the entire thing, but we have a picture of an understanding of the devastation. Now let's talk solutions. What needs to happen as a matter of urgency, starting like yesterday?
I think a major thing that we're highlighting with the project, by the way, people can watch, what our findings were in the documentaries. One of them is called Finding Fish. That's the one that's focused on water and the aquatic organisms. It's on YouTube, on Docutivism TV page. The second one is A Legacy of Death, which focused on the water distribution issues, the hyper projects, and the remediation sites that we investigated. So you can catch up, on those. Just do a simple search on YouTube. But anyway, what the project, is highlighting is that there needs to be continuous monitoring. There needs to be continuous public health interventions. There's some things that, some recommendations, health recommendations in the UNEP reports that have still not, been carried out. I hear and I see from the calendar of HYPREP that they plan to start the human study. That's so critical. And this study points to that. We need to start checking, what's going on in people's bodies, because there are people who are walking around with nickel, lead, and all of those heavy metals inside them. And, another interesting thing is that during our study, we actually visited a major morgue in Bori, I think. Motherhood is a very popular morgue there.
Yeah.
And I was just curious to find out. Obviously, they're not very advanced, like, the way you see a big and more advanced scientifically morgue. But just to know the pathology of the area. So we asked the chief pathologist there, like, what do you find that most people, die from here? By the way, most of the obituaries on the wall were young people. People in their 30s, 40s. You see few 60s, even 60 is not old, Then you see a rare 100 and something, So we were just asking, and they said most people have kidney issues. Now, while we have not done our study to scientifically prove,
You can already tell.
It's pointing, is very telling. And so that is so critical, that continuous monitoring of not just, the polluted sites yet to be remediated, even the ones that are being remediated at the moment, continuous public health education, and this is hard. We really need to make socioeconomic alternatives for these people.
Yeah.
I spoke to some of them. I looked at that whole economic chain, from the people catching the fish to the people selling the fish and the people cooking the fish. And many of them, if you ask them, can't you do something else? This thing is polluted. They're telling, there's nothing else I know to do with my life, So there definitely needs to be that health, scientific intervention and socioeconomic intervention. So while we're telling them stay away from this, they're still, being able to sustain livelihoods.
Okay, Mr. Adelakun, I will get back to you, but something just came up now, and I think Dr. Labor will be in the right position to answer the question. Now, sometimes when we complain about contamination, maybe somebody says, oh, this suya you're eating, do you see the conditions under which it is prepared and all of that? The response they say is, it goes through fire, right? No, I've heard that a couple of times, that it is tried by fire. By the time we roast it, we burn it, we fry away the... So this is obviously a scientific question. The fish that is contaminated with, the metal and all of that, the fire, how far? Does the fire not, play a part in... Because I know that we boil, we roast, so is fire not enough?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If I wasn't a scientist and you asked me the same question, I would say fire don't kill the chemical, don't destroy everything, not go work again.
Yeah.
But as a scientist, the literature has proven that these chemicals don't degrade.
My goodness.
They can only transform from one form to another. sometimes more dangerous forms, sometimes less dangerous forms.
Die-hard chemicals.
Yes. So, for example, we have the heavy metals that we mentioned, nickel, cadmium, lead, and the likes of them. They don't degrade. So they undergo a process called biomagnification. Okay, it's a transfer of the chemicals from one food level in the food chain to the next.
Oh my.
So from the contaminated soil, the plants or the fish that take them in, of course, the waste nutrients also, if it is plants, get into the plants. The same way the chemicals also are taken up by the plants. If it is fishes, of course, they feed. For example, the tilapia that we investigated, they are known as bottom feeders. So they feed on the sediments, and of course the crude are attached to these sediments, and of course they take them in. And the chemicals don't degrade when it gets into the tissue of the fishes. So when we come pick them up, no matter the processing method, they are still there. They may only be transformed to, of course, sophisticated chemical reactions that we don't want to understand now.
I don't.
Okay, and then we take them in.
I don't want to know if if I should blame God or nature for these metals being this defiant. Like, why are you surviving everything?
So it's just the nature. They have their properties, just like we humans, we have our properties. It could be adaptation property, it could be anything. They are not just the metals, even the hydrocarbons themselves. Some are known as compounds of concern. They are being established by the regulatory bodies because of their nature. They persist in the human body. They only bioaccumulate. So over the years, you could be taking them little quantities, little concentrations, but over the years, they are there in your tissue.
Yeah.
Okay. Until they get to a point that begin to elicit the effects that you begin to see as an illness. That's why when we consume them, we say, oh, this, nothing they happen. I they chop that fish now, I'm not dying. How about tomorrow when it has gotten to the level that it will actually now elicit the effects?
Is there a process or a time where your body's natural defense system maybe flush it out, or like can the body not fight in some way? Or if I say, oh, I won't eat this fish again for the rest of my life, will at least the levels drop? Because I'm just thinking from a common sense perspective, right?
Of course, there is a natural process known as depuration. So the same way we eat other things, and we break it down through biomechanism and then send it off. Some of them